Okay, what's going on, guys? This is just going to be a few tips and tricks for new players on the MMORPG Tycoon 2, which, if you haven't played, is a great game, but I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you have played it. So first things first is this cursor. Most people probably know this, but if you don't, just change it to here, change it to static, and boom. Right, so you're in the game, assuming that you know how to purchase land and stuff like that. It's not going to be like super easy, it's just these tips and tricks are going to be more to make your game look better, more believable, and just general things that the game doesn't tell you. So first off is going to be, if you go to scenery, all this counts towards leveling up. So it doesn't tell you how to level up in the game, I don't believe, but you just spam these. As you can see, it goes up in the top corner. So each one of these is just one. So if you do want to level up quickly, then just spam these. It literally can be anything. So just any kind of scenery. So yeah, that's one of the things that the game doesn't mention, which I was kind of confused at first. Okay, next up is just making your town look a bit more believable, I guess. So I've watched a few people and this is a poor example, but it's exaggerated kind of. So they'll do a path and it'll just go straight through the region. Now, I'm guilty of this because it's easy and it's lazy, but doesn't make for such a believable looking settlement or town. So like, yeah, the game might think it looks nice, but do you think it looks nice? I think it looks rather plain, boring. So we're just gonna turn, oh yeah, and then we'll have a little zone over here. Again, looks plain and quite boring. Okay, so first things first, when planning a town, is you want to kind of decide where your roads go. Now, you can just have the small one of where the road goes straight through the middle, that's perfectly fine, but especially for your starting zone, you're gonna want a big town with lots of inns, lots of taverns, because that's where the majority of your players are gonna be. And not only do you want just one island for like level ones, but later on in the game you're probably going to have maybe 3 or 4, depending on how far you can get. But yeah, make sure you have a big kind of city or town where like the new players can spawn into. So I put no planning into this. I just like using the grid because it's easy to see what's going on. And I literally just do straight roads. So each one of these is an individual road rather than going like that because I don't really like the curves. So yeah, if you do want to do just straight roads, that's how you do it. I've got my center point kind of, which is going to be the graveyard because that's one of the things that we only need one of. And then I'm just going to go around and fill this up with some buildings quick time. Okay, so we've put the main buildings in the town. And as you can see, it looks slightly better than just a graveyard and also what we did before, but it still looks quite barren. Also, you can put in more than just the one, like, what's it called? The one landmark. Don't feel like you just have to have one. Like, put as many as you want in. It's all just about making it look lively and like an actual town. So next we're going to go and add just some scenery, and we're going to start off with just the regular buildings. Usually I like to do the bigger things first and then you gradually go smaller and smaller within the details until eventually you're happy with what you've got. So for the starting town I usually kind of just like to use the fancy looking ones. And what you want to do, you just want to dot them around kind of randomly, leave some gaps for some scenery objects and stuff like that. And yeah, every now and again just dash in maybe one of these castle kind of things. I like to pretend they're like a sort of jail. Okay, so that is the houses put in. I've added in a couple of the cheaper looking houses, just again for a little bit more diversity. But as you can see, we've got the jail over here. So a couple of these houses, and just a lot of taverns, a lot of inns, a lot of shops. There's a few blacksmiths and a few potion shops. So next we're going to add in some of the smaller details now, starting off again with the larger stuff. We're going to go with some maybe watchtowers. I like to use the wells, I like to use the fountains, I like to use these, but I use them as cranes. So, you gotta use your imagination. When you're building your city, you've got to use your own creativity. You've got to create your own story as you're going through. So like on mine, they're going to start here, they'll go through the more elegant kind of area. You know, they've got this is the rich kind of shops, and then they go down here. There's going to be a few quests to maybe look at some things. There's going to be some bad guys over here. So in my head, I've already planned out what I want this zone to be, what kind of narrative I'm going to give it. Okay, so we've added in like kind of the bigger small details. So we've got like this building kind of over here. We've got a couple of cranes just hanging around. We've got like, because I've got plans for this to be more of a monster zone, we've got some barricades set up. Perhaps in our narrative, the prisoners can be sent over there. Maybe, I don't know. It's whatever story you want. And I've placed a few rocks and stuff. And just another quick tip for when like placing fauna and rocks and just stuff like that. Don't be afraid to just build them up. Just quickly turn them around. So like you want to try and make it look as natural as possible, and to do that, you've just got to add more. So, like, yeah, it might go into the rock, but from a distance, it's going to look good. And just make sure you quickly, just turning them so not every single one's facing the same way. You don't really have to take your time. This is the part where you just kind of just go with it and keep clicking until really you're bored. Like, you can't do more than enough. It's just about putting in more, making it look more realistic, more lively, more alive. So like this area I'm pretending is going to be kind of like a quarry area where maybe the prisoners come out and make us big money on rocks. But yeah, I'm going to do this with most of the rocks, but not just with this one. We're going to do it also with, like a few of these, just kind of in the middle. Again, just to add variety. You want to turn them and stuff like that, and then I like to add these kind of things too, just just a little bit more dotted around to give the place a little bit more life, especially when it comes towards the middle. You don't want like your rocks and your overgrow right in the middle. But once I've done that, we'll get back onto making probably the next zone. I think we'll be done with this town. Okay, so then last up to add to the town, as you can see, it's looking a lot more lively now, a lot more lived in, a lot more colourful. Is just to finally add in like the last little bit of details. I mainly kind of stick to these sort of carts, these sort of benches, mainly because, I don't know, they just serve like a normal kind of purpose. Whereas like this card is just insanely huge, as is this one. The chairs are pretty big, and I like to use these boxes and these boxes and these barrels. A couple of the tables are pretty good. Sometimes these are okay, like a little bit of a washing line. Good way to make a little camp. So say like someone's just chilling back here. Get a little this on the go. A little campfire in the middle. One of these just coming across there, a couple of barrels, little small box. I mean, boom, right there. That looks, we're probably just going to keep that. That looks pretty good. I made that no time at all. So once we've done that, this town should be pretty much ready to go. Okay, so we have finished. So as you can see, I've added in tables and benches and just like a crap ton of boxes, wells, just more boxes, the cranes, a load of these little carts, some more tables and chairs and stuff like that, and then you've got this little communal area with a couple of fountains, and just a couple of these, like, I don't know what they are, but I use them as like washing lines. And if you think about it, these barrels and stuff all could be filled with loot, like shitty loot, but could be loot, just to introduce people to like sort of the game. But yeah, as you can see, this looks a lot more like a city or a town than what we had originally. It takes a little bit longer. I mean, this didn't take me too long. This took me 20 minutes maybe a little bit longer than that. But once you've got your initial few buildings down, your path layout, just go ham. Just go ham with these small scenery items. Just put in as much as you can. Obviously, you can take a lot more time and actually really build it up. You can even put walls around it and stuff like that. But the last thing I'm just going to kind of show you guys is how to improve I guess, making your enemy zones, because I mean, let's be honest, we've all been guilty of just going, let's say spider, Eve. I like to kind of just put mine under the trees, and that's it. That's all I'll do. But recently, I've been adding a little bit more. So what we'll do, we'll change one of these guys into. So let's go into NPC. We'll just go model editor, and I like to change them into the thief. Just change it to like kind of bandit, and then you can make like little bandit hideouts, and it gives them a bit more of a purpose to go towards them sort of areas. So once I've got it all laid out and stuff, I will show you what I mean. Okay, so we've just built a small little offshoot from the main path, and this is literally all you have to start off with is just the regular buildings. I've got an idea to put like kind of an elite here, just as like story. He can be like the boss of these guys. And what we're gonna do, same as what we did with the town, but we're not really gonna do too much detail. We're just gonna throw in a load of boxes, a load of barrels, a couple of tables, just make it a little bit more lived in, look like it's actually a miniature settlement. Okay, so we've basically done all the design for this kind of bandit village. Doesn't look too great, but it gets the job done. Your people are gonna love it, and it doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks lived in. So all you gotta do is just go in and add. We didn't save it. Okay, there we go. So then all you go is just add in your banditos. You can make it so there is more in there by just making it crowded. And you can also add in your elite. However, I will just do a last quick little tip is I'm just going to throw down some normal elites. If you go to your design, this will only work when you've got more, if you want to use more monsters, because this one will be specifically for elites. So say we wanted that big guy who's going to be a thief. We then go to torso, you go to adjust, and you just scale them up. And that will make them as big as they can, which isn't hugely big, but it's big enough. So you'll change the name to whatever, and then this one will only be used as an actual elite. So then you can mess with like the health a bit more, just make them a bit more tougher, maybe a little bit faster. So basically this guy is just gonna kick ass, and he will be like the ultra elite, the one where you send quest givers to, that kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully guys this has helped you make your game a little bit more creative. As you can see, we've got this big town here, we've got this nice little NPC sort of little village with banditos. So yeah, hopefully this has helped you just build your town a little bit better, and if it has, let me know. Doses.